Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Data Roll podcast. Welcome to this newest episode, where today we'll be discussing borderless or cross-border play. What are the challenges and compliance tricks that are related to this whole story? And today we've got with me Linda Serbu, who is the big boss behind the conformity check. Linda, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Stanislav, for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here and to share my perspective on compliance and the evolution of the iGaming industry. I will start to a short intro about me. So my name is Linda Serbu. I studied economics and banking, but in my career, I tried a bunch of different roles like sales, back office in insurance, gastronomy, even marketing, until the life was pushing me into the gambling retail shop at Public Queen, later on Fortuna. And after that, I have switched to capital market. It seems that one phone sometimes can even change your life. So one phone call brought me back into the gambling industry, and I discovered the technical and compliance skills that I didn't know to had, like website and back office configuration, content creation, testing, integration, and later on audits. So in Fortuna, I've got a lot of, as an employee, I've got a lot of knowledge base. And later on, I have switched to Superbet. And after more than 9 years, I think, in the industry, I started to create the conformity check SRL, where currently I'm working as an independent consultant for the gambling industry. And right now, I'm help gambling operators to identify the gaps in compliance, to align the processes with local legislation, platform configuration revision, and to prepare the operators for different kind of audits, all while having the flexibility to be closer to my son and my family. So here we are.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for the short overview, and this path is really interesting. And then I think that actually it will be good to start from the global perspective. So when we look at the market from today, it feels that it is becoming harder to think of, let's say, that you have one country, one license. At the beginning, we had everything was within the Europe. We could go with the Maltese license. Then you had many reasons, be it tax, compliance, etc. Countries started to introduce the legislation. But how does it look today? How would you say it?
You know what is funny? That even if we are speaking about Maltese licensing, also, we should think on the licensing for other markets as it's in Romania. So if you get, as an operator, you get the license in Malta, after that you need the license in another country. So we can speak even about one country for operating with different licenses. But anyway, so the global iGaming market today, it's highly fragmented and complex. Every country has its own set of rules, licensing requirements, and of course restrictions, not only within gambling legislation itself, but also in related areas like civil law, taxation, and even advertising standards. Because of this, it's becoming harder to think in terms of one country, one license. So many large operators work under multiple licenses through different legal entities, all connected to the same, let's say, ultimate beneficial owner. These structures help them to adapt to the specific regulation, tax systems, and the operation realities of each market. But at the end of the day, every country wants to protect its players and collect its shares of taxes, which is understandable. But from a business perspective, it doesn't always make sense to restrict an operator to just one license per country. Different jurisdictions allow for different product portfolios, marketing strategies, and customer experience. In my view, The key point is actually compliance. As long as operators fully respect the laws of each jurisdiction in which they operate, there's no conflict in being active across multiple markets. What matters is actually the transparency and adherence to the local requirements, not necessarily where the license was first issued.
Yeah, and what would you say if you name the main risks in terms of compliance when you have players that access the different platform, different operator from the countries in which, in theory, these operators are supposed not to be operating as per their licensing, so which is either in the gray or the black market?
Okay, there are several case compliance risks when player access the gambling platforms from countries where the operators isn't licensed. First, the biggest issue concerns players' counts and winnings. When a player bets from a country that isn't covered by the operator license, there's no legal protection or guarantee for their money. If a dispute occurs, it's unclear which jurisdiction applies, and in many cases, neither authority will take the responsibility. At the end, which authority? Second, there are anti-money laundering and financial integrity risks. Cross-border transaction can make it difficult to trace the true origin of the funds, especially when payment providers are based in different countries or when players use VPN to hide their location. As a third aspect, it's related to the product legality, which can vary. For example, in Romania, both sports betting and casino are allowed, but in Cyprus, casino products are actually forbidden. If an operator lets the Cypriot players access casino games through a website licensed elsewhere, they are actually breaching the local law and effectively operating in a market where the gambling legislation becomes unenforceable. So it's very tricky from this point of view. Finally, there's a responsible gambling and player protection risk as well. Self-excluded or high-risk players can bypass local restriction by logging in from abroad or masking actually their identity. All of these factors, and only few of them I have mentioned, jurisdictional uncertainty, IML exposure, product restrictions, and weak player protections make the cross-border access a serious compliance concern. This is why the operators need strong geolocation tools, VPN detection, and clear rules on where play is allowed.
Okay. And so what would you say are the main reasons when you have players that try to log in and play from different countries, so outside their country of residence and registration? Would you say that it's curiosity? Maybe is it more about having access to different games, better promotions, dynamics? Or maybe it's just because there's no suitable options in their local market?
As a main reason, I personally consider the migration of the population till they are accommodating with the new country, new people, new mindset. It is much easier for the player to use what they already know. Transition to the local market, it's made with low steps. The main reason players access the gambling platforms from outside their registered country is migration and the familiarity. Usually when the people are moving abroad for work, to study, for personal reasons, they often continue using the websites and the platforms they already know and trust. It feels easier and more comfortable than starting fresh with a new local operator, especially during the adjustment period in a new country. As another factor is the access to different products or offers. Some players seek games, promotions, or betting options that might not be available in their new location due to the local restriction. In other cases, it might be simply habit or convenience. Usually players log into the same account without realizing the cross-border play might violate the terms or local regulations. So I would say that it's not always about bad intentions of the players. Often it's a mix of practicality, comfort, and the lack of awareness about the legal boundaries of online gambling across jurisdictions. Anyway, gambling pattern, it's recommended to avoid the fraudulent players and the reasons behind such a practice as money laundering, player interdictions, addiction, stolen credit card, or even stolen identity.
Okay, and do you think that this is a growing phenomenon or a marginal one or getting more important because of globalization and all these VPNs and digital payments, mobile access? What's your take on that?
So this behavior is for sure growing, not marginal. With today's technology, such as VPNs, digital wallets, international payment options, and mobile access, players can easily connect from almost anywhere. Some use VPNs deliberately to bypass the restrictions, while others are using them for general privacy or security reason, even within the same country. So VPN are used both intentionally for location bypass and unintentionally. They also appear in fraud patterns even for local players. The increasing mobility of both people and technology makes cross-border access easier, and that's why it has become such an important area for compliance team to monitor closely.
How would you say that the regulatory differences, which are between the jurisdictions, how do they really impact the operators in the day-to-day work?
Regulatory differences create significant operational complexity for gambling operators. Each jurisdiction has its own licensing framework, reporting standard, responsible gambling rules, and marketing restrictions. Operators have to adapt their platform. That's the most important key for them, internal procedures, and even the communication strategy to comply with each local authority's expectation. This means separate version of games, different KYC requirements, and distinct limits on bonuses or advertising. In shorter, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. The same company can operate legally in one country and face sanctions in another for identical practices. It requires strong compliance management and a deep understanding of each market regulatory environment and a good transposal of the requirements into technical ones, a technical implementation.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I'm really curious. To what extent do you think that the regulators are prepared for the quote borderless unquote nature of the online gaming, which is just like the internet? It's everywhere and anywhere, huh?
So preparation varies greatly from one country to another one. Some regulators are quite advanced. They use technology to track actually the player behavior, enforce strict geolocation rules, and cooperate with the authorities. Others are still developing their frameworks and often rely on manual processes or outdated systems. Overall, I'd say regulators are becoming more aware of the borderless nature of online gaming, but collaboration across countries it's still limited. Maybe in the future we probably see more data sharing agreements and joint initiatives, but for now, enforcement remains large national rather than international. I believe the cross-border cooperation between gambling associations and regulatory authorities is essential. So I'm looking forward from this point of view.
And Kane, do you think that these restrictions they really force the operators to rethink some of their marketing strategies and approach, given that the world gets bigger and bigger?
Yes, absolutely. So regulatory restrictions are actually pushing the operators to completely rethink how they market their products. Marketing today must be precise, compliant, and highly localized. Operators need to ensure that every campaign, from an online banner to a social post, it's actually aligned with the rules of the target jurisdictions. That means using strict geo-targeting, adapting the content and the offers to local languages and laws, and involving compliance teams early in the marketing process. In this environment, a single misplaced ad can result in a significant fine or reputational damage. So, marketing and compliance now go hand in hand. It's no longer just about creativity, but also about responsibility.
Now time for my favorite part, so data. So how do you see the role of data in all of that, especially when we speak about detecting and managing the player activity outside of the licensed market, beyond the regulation for a specific place?
Data plays a central role in identifying and managing cross-border activity. It allows the operator to detect actually where the players really are, how they connect, and whether their behavior matches their declared residence or their declared identity. Analytics can help by establishing a baseline of normal behavior and then detecting anomalies that don't fit that pattern. For example, if a player suddenly logs in from another country, means tracking of the IP address, using different payment methods, or changes their playtime drastically, analytics can flag the account for further review. By combining multiple data points, geolocation, device, payments, and play patterns, operators can assign a risk score and decide whether to trigger the additional verification steps or even to block the access for that specific player. It's all about how we can use the data to spot what's unusual without penalizing the legitimate players. Yes? So to make actually the difference between risky players and good players. And I'm not referring to the VIP players. So data also helps to build detailed risk profiles, enabling proactive monitoring and early intervention before compliance issue escalate. In short, without data, managing this kind of risk will be almost impossible.
And from platform perspective, when it comes to the configuration of the platform, if you were to name some of the biggest challenges when it comes to controlling this cross-border access, what would that be?
There are several big challenges. Let's say that first one, it's related to the accurate geolocation. Players can easily mask their true location using VPNs or shared mobile networks. The second one, finding the right balance between control and user experience. Overly strict filters can frustrate the legitimate players, while overly permissive settings can expose the operator to regulatory risk. Third one, it's related to the system integration. So geolocation, payments, KIC, responsible gaming systems, marketing tools for CRM especially, all need to communicate in real time, which is technically complex. Additionally, operators depend on third-party providers for data, and those services don't always deliver the consistent accuracy. Finally, keeping up with frequent regulatory changes adds an extra layer of complexity. Managing all these aspects requires both solid technical infrastructure, real-time communication, real-time reporting, and a clear compliance strategy. So no decision without checking the data, that's for sure.
All right, the final one for today. Do you see a future where the cross-border access is more harmonized? We got one more governing body and international regulation. makes it smoother for having this kind of operations that are cross-border? What do you think?
I think some level of harmonization is possible, yes, but complete global alignment it's unlikely in the near future. Gambling legislation is deeply connected to each country's culture, taxation, social policies, and those differ widely. However, I do see progress in the form of bilateral agreements and cooperation between regulators. We may also see the adoption of common technical standards for areas like data sharing, IML reporting, responsible gambling tools. So, while we might not reach a single global regulatory framework, I believe we are moving toward better coordination and shared understanding between jurisdictions, which would already be a big step forward from my point of view.
Thanks a lot, Linda. That is a truly insightful conversation for which I'm really grateful to you.
Thank you, Stanislav. It was an amazing discussion today, and I'm very glad that I'm part of this amazing project.
Thanks a lot. And guys, if you have not done it before, I might be repeating myself, but well, still worth it. Remember, hit the follow button on Spotify, go to our LinkedIn page at DataRoll, click follow as well. And if only you or some of your friends or colleagues would be a great fit for the next episode of the DataRoll podcast, hit me up on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way to reach out to me. And time to wrap up for today. Remember one thing, keep rolling with the data.